LeBron James is the most unlucky superstar of all time. That statement might sound crazy to a lot of you because he's arguably the GOAT. But LeBron James has had a lot of unfortunate events occur in his career. So let's break it down from the beginning.
In 2003, the landscape of Cleveland basketball changed forever. After horrible seasons and multiple draft mishaps, the Cavs won the NBA draft lottery and had the opportunity to select first in what was widely considered one of the deepest drafts in history. This was the first domino to fall in the long list of unlucky moments for LeBron James.
The high school phenom from Akron, Ohio was selected by the Cavs with that first pick before the draft even happened. This choice was seen as the beginning of a successful era for the team that had struggled for so long. But now we know that being selected to the Cavaliers was one of the worst things that could have happened to LeBron.
It was always for LeBron and anybody that watched that this was not a good basketball team. And unfortunately, last GM was not a thing yet. But they did have a few promising pieces to build with. Most prominently, Carlos Boozer, a power forward who perfectly complemented LeBron's playing style.
However, in the summer of 2024, the Cavaliers management gave LeBron the first of many reasons to not believe in them. They miscalculated Boozer's commitment to the team. They were so confident of the capability to keep Boozer that they released him from his contract, expecting him to sign a new one with a higher salary. Instead, Boozer saw the money that was being given to the bigs around the league of his caliber and signed an expensive contract with the Utah Jazz.
The fallout was significant. The team had lost a valuable player, and it dealt a very big blow to LeBron's supporting cast for the now and for the future. With no significant moves made to replace Boozer, the Cavs missed the playoffs once again. Normally for young teams, it's not a bad thing because it gives them the opportunity to get some good players in the draft, but the Cavaliers did not do this.
After Boozer's departure, the front office had the pressure to draft or trade for impactful players that could fill the void and complement LeBron. But their performance in the subsequent drafts and free agencies left much to be desired. The Cavs' top pick in 2004, Luke Jackson, 10th overall, was a disappointment, plagued by injuries and inconsistent performances. And in the 2005 draft, they didn't even have a pick.
After scrambling to find LeBron and new co-star in the 2005 free agency, the best they could do was Larry Hughes. It's easy to give this team a pass for this pickup because, quote-unquote, they're not a free agent destination. That is a classic line that they always spew when the front office is incompetent and unable to build a contender. The truth is that they were cheap. The truth is that they didn't try hard enough because LeBron's on the contract. There was no pressure at the moment.
We will give them credit for keeping LeBron's best teammate for the upcoming years, Zydrunas Ilgauskas. And the story and how it happened is hilarious, and we truly encourage you guys to look up on it. But with all that being said, the team ended up being good enough to make the playoffs, and LeBron had a legendary first playoff series, because of course he did. He ended up pushing the Pistons all the way to a Game 7 in the second round.
Although the first 3 years of LeBron's career weren't perfect, things were definitely trending upwards. In the 2007 season, the Cavs pulled up with pretty much the same team. Only significant new player was Daniel Boobie Gibson, who was picked 42nd in the draft, but turned out to be a solid player who had some hot shooting nights.
There was also some internal improvements from the young players, including our good friend Anderson Varejao. LeBron, once again, led the team to 50 wins and rematched against the Pistons in the playoffs, this time in the conference finals. And if anybody wasn't convinced about LeBron being an all-time great player, they were after this series.
LeBron had one of the greatest performances in NBA history at the age of 23. With the series tied at 2-2, LeBron went to the Palace and dropped 48 points. But that's not the crazy part. The crazy part is that he scored the team's last 25 points of the game to beat the Pistons in double overtime. This was the night LeBron became the king of the Palace.
But let's take a second to think about how crazy that is. That Pistons team was only 3 years removed from their championship. They made the finals in 2005 and were a series away from making it back to the finals that season, and LeBron did that to them at only 23 years old. To put that into perspective, Luka Doncic right now is 24 and Tatum is 25. That would be like if Luka upset the Warriors in the 2022 playoffs to go to the finals.
The finals, on the other hand, was an absolute beatdown. We don't even have to talk about that. But even though the season ended on a loss, the sentiment should have been positive, right? A team that was missing the playoffs every season just finished second place in the whole NBA. With a few improvements and a true co-star for LeBron, there was no reason to believe that they wouldn't be back and they'll be able to get their revenge. Sadly for LeBron, that offseason, his first big roadblock was formed.
The Boston Celtics created their infamous Big Three by trading for former MVP Kevin Garnett and elite shooting guard the Cavs tried to land just a few years ago, Ray Allen. The Cavs saw that and did nothing. There were a few talks of perhaps them getting some new players, but it amounted to nothing. So they pretty much came back with the same team, and the honeymoon of being the Eastern Conference champions didn't last long.
Internal issues and injuries held the team back, and if it wasn't for LeBron carrying them, like we have seen him do so many times, the team would have missed the playoffs again. This is one of the first times LeBron started to get mad and said something publicly. He openly stated he wanted a superstar point guard, and the player he said was Jason Kidd. And the Cavs turned around and gave him a watch to Ben Wallace, Delonte West, and Wally Sherbach. All jokes aside, they're okay role players, but definitely not enough to get the Cavs past the Celtics.
Even with all that being said, LeBron pushed the almighty Celtics to a Game 7, in which he scored 45 and they only lost by 5 points. We have to stop for a second right there because that's something that cannot be overlooked. The Celtics team that ended up going to the finals and beating Kobe's Lakers in 6 games almost lost to LeBron's Cavs, who had no business even being there.
Thankfully, that offseason, the Cavs finally made a good move. They acquired another famous LeBron teammate, Mo Williams, who actually ended up being an all-star season next to LeBron. He was a much-needed shooter and a scorer who could play both on and off the ball and complemented LeBron really well. That, along with role players fitting in and the chemistry increasing, and of course, LeBron being LeBron. The Cavaliers won a historically great 66 games, the most in franchise history.
This is absurd to think of. 66 games is a lot. That's only 7 less games than the 73-9 Warriors, who had 3 Hall of Famers in their starting lineup, and the same amount of games as the Celtics' Big Three in 2008. Guys, you need to understand this man was by himself while doing this. The role players were solid, no doubt. Mo Williams was an all-star, although he was an injury replacement, by the way. But still, 66 games with one man carrying is so incredible.
Of course, they saw LeBron win his first MVP, and the Cavs were seen as a real contender. And they proved it in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs by sweeping the Pistons and the Hawks. They're the way again, one series away from returning to the NBA Finals. A chance to right their wrongs, and surprisingly, due to an injury to Kevin Garnett, it was not a rematch with the Celtics. But instead, LeBron was going against a fellow number 1 pick that came out of high school, Dwight Howard.
Just to remind the ones that may not know, we're talking about the best center in the NBA, Dwight Howard. Back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year, Dwight Howard, who was surrounded by a great supporting cast that perfectly fit his playstyle. So this was not going to be an easy matchup. Fans were salivating about the idea of a LeBron versus Kobe finals, and we don't blame them, because that would have been one of the greatest finals of all time. But as we know, it never ended up happening.
LeBron did all he could, scoring 49, 35, 41, 44, 37, and 25 in the 6-game series, including an iconic buzzer beater. The Cavs sadly ended up losing in 6 to a Magic team that simply should have more talent. This was an absolute heartbreak for everybody, for LeBron, for Cavs fans, and for even NBA fans, and didn't get to witness 2 legends duke it out in the finals.
The 2009 and 2010 season was the Cavs' last chance to convince LeBron to stay, as he was set to become a free agent the following offseason. And once again, they almost pulled off a big move. They set up a trade for Stoudemire that was very close to happening, and would have given LeBron the co-star he so desperately needed and deserved. But like we said, it almost happened. Instead, they panicked and traded for a 37-year-old Shaquille O'Neal and Antoine Jamison, who actually seemed like a pretty good pickup at the time since he was an early stretch big.
The season ended with the Cavs at the top of the East, and with a second MVP added to LeBron's resume. But things were not as shiny as it looked on the outside. There was a lot of behind-the-scenes drama going on with the Cavs that had to do with LeBron's personal life, and that led to LeBron having the worst playoff series of his life, and the Cavs getting bounced out in the second round by a Celtics team that was healthy again.
LeBron still averaged 27 in that series, but that was bad for his usual standards. And with LeBron not being at his best, the Cavs stood no chance. The Cavaliers lost in 6 games. And as LeBron left the arena that night, one thing was clear. He was tired of losing. And more importantly, he was tired of not having help.
This section of LeBron's career is by far the most overlooked, mainly because it's the only chapter of his career in which he didn't win a championship. I do believe, however, that it's a big disservice to do that because this LeBron is just as good as any other version of LeBron. His athleticism was at an all-time high, his explosiveness was unmatched, and his bag was as deep as ever.
His IQ and understanding of the game wasn't at the point that it was in later seasons, but he was still one of the greatest players this game has ever seen. The saddest part about it is that he didn't need that much help to win. He just needed a guy, a co-star to share the responsibilities with. He had solid teams, solid players, but his team was the inferior team in every loss he ever had during those years.
This is where our first episode ends, but LeBron's journey is far from over. Join us in the next part of Unlucky as we explore LeBron's time in Miami, a period filled with both triumph and disappointment. As we continue to unravel the story of LeBron James' illustrious career, we also tell a tale of how even the brightest talents in sports can be hindered by factors beyond their control.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Please let us know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, please like, subscribe. Peace out.
Peace out.